Hi, I'm Jerri Heid, Youth Services Specialist at the Ames Public Library. Welcome to Well Read, a program about a little bit of this and a little bit of that at the Ames Public Library. And if you've been visiting the library recently, you will see that there's been lots of this and that happening all over the library. Furniture moving, books moving and getting consolidated and not where they're supposed to be because that's where I find them, but they're over here and over there. And one of those things also that's happening is depending on when you're watching this particular production, we are ending some of our services, and one of those is our story time. This week on Story Time, we are saying goodbye to the library, featuring one of my favorite books, The Hello Goodbye Window. And we are saying hello and goodbye and hello and goodbye to lots of different things. So with me today is someone that knows all about all those hello goodbyes and all the things going on behind the scenes, is Lynne Carey, our interim library director. Hi, Lynne. How are you doing?
Hi, Jerri. I'm doing very well. It's an exciting time at the Ames Public Library.
It is, and I know you are like both sides. The hello goodbye window is very much more your analogy of what's happening in the world, because you are dealing not only with the move but also the new renovation and those plans going. You know, you're kind of walking in between those two events that are happening in our lives. But let's talk about some of the services and the move out that we have and our timeline.
Yes, our first activity is saying goodbye to this library that has served us so well for so many years. And it's bittersweet. It's kind of hard to say goodbye to a familiar place that you've had so much fun in and so many good things have happened. But it's easy to say goodbye when you know that there are great things just around the corner. So what we've been doing the last few months is preparing to move everything in the library. And if you think about how hard it is just to clean your room and pick up your clothes and put them away, think of that times a gazillion, because that's what we're doing here. We're planning to move every single thing in the library to other locations and open up a temporary library until we get to come back here. And
I know our families have come in and they've heard about the move and what we're doing and seeing some of the items leaving the library and that type of thing, and they ask, "You're moving everything?" And yes, we are moving everything.
We are moving everything.
Every little
and
book.
We are trying very hard to make sure that the temporary library has as many services as possible. And we are very excited about what's going to be happening there. It will be close quarters and a tight squeeze, but we'll be able to fit all of our collections in. So all of our books, our DVDs, our CDs, our puppets, everything will be there. So it'll be very familiar. It'll just be small.
Hi there.
Right.
And there are some services that, like our programming, the baby talk and the toddler time and the family story time will still be in that location. Some of the other programs will be outside the building, to places to be determined because of the close quarters. But some of those familiarity, especially for our smallest little patrons, will be there for us. So pickles will be there, and the browsing bins and the shelving, and toward the back of our new location over next to Hobby Lobby in that Lincoln Way Mall. So.
Right, in Lincoln Center by the Hy-Vee on the east side of town. So we're really just going a few blocks.
Right.
But
moving is still moving.
Moving is still moving. Whether you're going a few blocks or many
right.
miles, you still have to pack it all up and move it. And that's what we're concentrating on right now, is getting ready to move. So people in the library will have noticed that we've squeezed all the collections as tight as we can, and a lot of furniture is disappearing. We are making determinations about what we can squeeze into the temporary library, what needs to go into storage, what we'll be using when we come back into the new library. And so we're just trying to get as much done in advance as possible. But the big move date is November 16th. And that is all based on other things that are going on behind the scenes. And on November 15th, we'll be opening the bids for the big project. And what that means is that we've spent literally a couple of years planning every detail of the renovated and expanded library, down to what kind of faucets we're having and where the electrical outlets are, all the way to, where youth services will be. Right. And so lots and lots of details. We've printed all of that up into these great big spec books.
And they're huge.
They're huge and they're thick. And many, many people out across the state and in other states have requested to look at them in anticipation of placing a bid and being chosen to be the ones to build the new library.
And that would be a great honor to be able to, I mean, I know we're biased, but it's still
just a little bit.
Would be a very great honor to be the chosen company to build and renovate our edition in the library world.
Yes, it's a very favorable project, I think, for people. And actually yesterday we had a walkthrough for potential bidders, and we had way more people come than we were anticipating. So as they walked in the door, we had to hand them a chair because we didn't have enough chairs set up. That was very heartening to see how many people are interested in being part of this project.
And it's also beneficial to us because the more people that are in the pot competing, the better things we will get in return.
That's what we hope.
We're hoping.
That's what we hope.
Well, that's the way the business world works, right?
Exactly. So back to the timeline a little bit. On November 15th, we open the bids at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we will know what it will cost to renovate and expand the library. And we're anticipating that will be within our budget. And so then we will close the library on the 16th, which is a Friday, and start moving. And the library will be closed for a period of time. We plan to open no later than December 10th in our new location over at Lincoln Center. And during that time, we'll be moving everything out and setting it all up in the new library so that we can serve the public in the way that they've been used to for all of these years, and take care of the staff too. So we have staff offices to set up as well as the public part of the library.
And I think I'd like to add, just as a comment, as someone that's not on the moving team committee, that there's a group of people that have been working very, very diligently and thoughtful and putting these plans together and thinking about why or what piece gets moved and where it goes and why it's going there. This isn't just haphazardly being done. It's a very thoughtful plan, very well organized. They've asked reference librarians. No, they've thought it all through and timed it, and so that November 16th date to hopefully December 10th or before isn't just a random number or random dates. They're analyzed and put together in a thoughtful manner.
That is very true. Our moving team has worked very, very hard.
Yes.
And you can probably imagine that people who work in libraries tend to be organized. That's what we do. The Dewey Decimal
System is going on.
That's right. So it kind of lends itself to this kind of giant puzzle. Yes. And we're putting all the pieces together. We have done a lot of planning, but we've also made sure to check with other places that are used to moving libraries.
Sure.
There are library moving companies out there, and there are many libraries who've experienced this, who've moved out, moved back in. And so we've talked to them. We just yesterday talked to a library mover and shared our plans, and he said, wow, it's very, very doable. What we have planned is very doable. It is unusual for a library this size to choose to do the work themselves, but we have such a tremendous staff and such great volunteers and fellow city department workers, and the community at large has just been, they've embraced this project, they've offered all kinds of help, and it's because of that we are able to do this ourselves.
Yeah. It's wonderful. It really is wonderful. But doing all this moving also means that at one point we have to discontinue some of the services, albeit temporarily, right. But we can't keep checking out books and returning books and putting holds on and stuff. We have to at some time stop that portion of it, and give us some of those dates for
Okay. There are some services that are slowly going away even now. Things like interlibrary loan borrowing from other libraries. We've already stopped doing that temporarily. The things that will affect the most people are the ability to check out books and to access our catalog and renew items, things like that. So the dates that are important there, the library is closing on November 16th, as I mentioned. So we're suggesting to people that they stock up prior to that and think about everything that they might need to access through December 10th. So if you're used to checking out 10 books a week,
or each day,
then set a little bit of room aside at home and stock up, and that's perfectly fine. We're not going to limit people on the number of books that they check out. We are going to maintain our limit on the number of DVDs simply because we want to have fair access. But we're suggesting that you get to know your neighbors and find a friend, and if you each check out 10 and share,
there we go.
Then you have 20. And so we're hoping that people will come in and stock up a bit so that they don't have a book emergency while we're closed. We will be maintaining the opportunity for people to return items. Nothing will be due during that time that we're closed. We'll have due dates start December 10th and after. So nothing is due, which means that if people can keep things longer than they're used to with no penalty as long as they return them by the due date that's on the slip that they get. But they certainly can return them earlier. We'll have a short period of time, just a few hours, that our drop box will not be available. On November 16th, we will stop taking items here at this location, and we'll actually physically take the book drop out of the wall, and we'll move it over to the Lincoln Center location and install it there. That should take 1 to 4 hours.
Yeah, depending on how the construction
right, and if it's
things go right,
raining and all of that. So that would be the only time that we would not be accepting materials. We will be shutting down our online access during that time, simply because we won't be in a position to respond to requests and things. We also will not be accepting phone calls. We'll have information if people do call in. But again, all of our efforts will be going toward moving as efficiently and quickly as possible so that we can reopen as soon as possible. If we were to try to maintain services while we were doing that, it would literally take us months instead of weeks. And so we made the choice to try to open as soon as possible. And
it is only temporary. I mean, it's just a couple weeks, and it'll go very quickly. And patience on both sides of where we're at, and holding on to those items, and having enough. I'm probably on the side that you won't have enough items to look at. That, I've gone through these. So repetition of reading the same book, I guess I can speak for the children's books, that's a good thing to do, is
it's a great
reread
thing.
it and enjoy it once again. So, and maybe that's true of adult books as well. So, but now, so this book drop will be at our new location from that point on. You know, and so they can, even though we are moving, they can return books during that time.
Yes, so and it's built right into the wall, adjacent to the door, the front door.
And so you'll have to, just come up to the front door and get out of your car and put it away, or go up to the door. So during that time too, we'll be in and out of both of those buildings. So it could possibly appear to a person going by that we look like we're open because there's activity, but that activity is actually moving everything, the semi-truck with the books, or the moving truck with the books and the items that we are moving. So we, we're just not open.
Unfortunately, it's true.
You can come by and observe us, but that you won't be able to come in either building at that time.
That's correct. And because we'll be doing some constructing, putting up shelves, taking down shelves, it's not a welcoming environment for people just to drop by. We are going to be very careful that only people who are involved in the move will be allowed in either building until we're open to the general public, and that's just simply a safety concern. So if people are interested in helping, we are accepting volunteers. I do have to preface that with the kinds of volunteers that we're looking for, kind of volunteer jobs that we have available are somewhat physical, because it's bending and reaching and moving items. And so we're looking for a particular type of volunteer for those things with a certain level of physical ability and stamina, because our shifts are 4 hours long. And again, for efficiency's sake, we do need to have people that are willing to volunteer commit to working full shifts. And for making our training most effective, we're asking people first to commit to multiple shifts, so that we aren't in a position of needing to train. So that's our first.
Who would they contact if?
Sarah Bolke is our volunteer coordinator, and they can find her information on the website, or they can email her. We all have the same email pattern.
Yes.
So hers is sbohlke@amespubliclibrary.org.
So emailing her is probably the most efficient way too, because she does have other, she gets to have some time off as well. So she's not always available.
True. She's not available 24
hours a day, even though we all think we are here. We try to be, but it just doesn't work that way.
Well, and she has a good idea of the kinds of volunteer opportunities that we have. We certainly don't want to turn anyone away, and so we are looking for other ways that people can participate. I know that she's had a couple people who volunteered to make cookies.
Chocolate chip cookies, my favorite.
Never ever say no to something like that. We are planning to provide meals for volunteers who are working on those work crews. We've already had area restaurants and caterers who have offered some help in that regard. We so much appreciate that, and we've had some people offered to give soft drinks and water, bottled water, and cookies and things like that. So yes, it really is great to see.
When things like this happen in a community, it's always wonderful to. It makes you feel good. The warm fuzzies all come out with all the generosity of people who are donating and giving things to us and supporting us in so many ways. And there are lots of options.
There are lots of options, and we have our funding mechanism. We have a bond referendum that the community supported overwhelmingly with a 76% yes vote last November. And that's the bulk of the funding for the project. It's a $20 million project, and the bonds are for $18 million. Then our library board, designated some money that had been left to the library for another $1 million of that, and then the community has responded to our request for donations, and we're coming very, very close to raising the last $1 million that we need for the project. So we're still accepting donations, and people have been extremely generous in that regard.
So many ways that people can be a part of this process that's once in a generation process and gift to our community. So lots of different ways to have these things happen. And one thing that's very dear to my heart is also the programming, which again it's a temporary in November and December, with the exception of our home author illustrator Derek Anderson visit here to promote his new book. We won't be having any programming here at the library to focus on that move, but we will start many things after the first of the year, and hopefully get back up and running as well as we can do in a temporary location. And just to know that the goodbye window, the goodbye temporarily to here, to say hello to our new space, and then to come back to, I call it a big light at the end of the tunnel where here's this beautiful building with fabulous fabulous programming space, fabulous space for our items that we house here and the people that work here, and then for our public to come in and participate and be a part of that once in a lifetime or once in a generation experience that we can have. So exciting things happening.
It's very exciting.
And if you don't think it's exciting, come on in and check to see all the exciting things that are moving around, because there's never a moment in the day that something isn't. I know the other day I said, oh, I think this table is ready to go, and I left and I came back and it was gone. So it's a wonderful time, and knowing that the end product is going to be well worth any of the other things that are happening, or the lack of service for a moment or time. So tune in with us, check our website, come on in and look at what we've got going on until the 15th at 9 o'clock when we close the building, and for 18 months to 2 years. And then we'll reopen this one, but come and visit us over at the Lincoln Center location as well, at least after December 10th, if maybe before that.
And watch the website.
And watch the website. Yeah, access our website, amespubliclibrary.org, and that'll tell you all the information that you need. And once again, thank you, Ames community, for supporting us in our wonderful endeavor of this new library renovation and expansion. Thank you for visiting.